Tánaiste, there was announcements by the Minister for Housing that there's going to be changes to the Residential Tenancies Act to replace rent pressure zones, the 4% review with the Consumer Price Index. Now, what I want to ask is, isn't that just not good enough, given the already unsustainable level of rents that people are paying? In the rent pressure zones, we've seen 20% increases over the last 4 years. People are paying €2,000, €2,500, €3,000 euros a month, which is completely unpayable. So isn't it actually necessary not to allow for further rent increases? And remember, we already have backdated suspended rent reviews during the COVID period, but actually to institute a complete rent freeze for the foreseeable future and bring in rent controls that will actually set rents at affordable levels. And by the way, this amendments, from what I can see, will do nothing for the setting of new rents and build-to-rent apartments and so on, which can be set at any level whatsoever, and almost certainly would be set at the same unsustainable levels they are now.
Thanks, Deputy. As you know, at the moment, in the rent pressure zones, rents can only increase year on year between 0 and 4%. We're going to change that now, so that it's linked to the harmonised index of consumer prices, inflation essentially, and that will mean rent increases, depending on inflation, but probably of no more than 0.7% or 1 point something percent is where inflation is running at the moment, and I think that'll be welcomed by most people who are renting. But you know, one thing we need to bear in mind, and it may not be popular to say this, but it's the truth. The vast majority of people who are landlords in this country, and I'm not one of them, by the way, are not investment funds. They're not wealthy people, and one person's rent is another person's mortgage. There are many people in Ireland who own a house or an apartment, and the rent that they receive barely covers the mortgage. For some people, that rental income is their pension. Thank you, perhaps the only pension that they have.
Moving on,
and doing what you propose, which is to slash rents,
moving on to the regional
would mean some people can't pay their mortgage, and some people would have their pension cut.
Moving on to the regional group, Deputy Lowry.